Hi race fans and welcome to Midwest Motorsports Review. I'm your host Darryl Franklin. The 2002 racing season marks the 20th anniversary of Franklin Racing Productions. Throughout the season we will take a look back at some of the highlights and some of the lowlights of Franklin Racing Productions. We also like to welcome Jim Ambrosio to our staff. Jim will be spending some time today talking with the 5 and Drive Auto Racing team out of Loves Park, Illinois, who race at the Rockford Speedway in Rockford, Illinois. Rockford Speedway opens their schedule actually April 5th, 6th, and 7th with the Spring Classic weekend for the Remax Challenge Touring Series cars. Sunday, April 14th is their 55th season opener at the Rockford Speedway. So let's take some time now and go.
Motorsports facility, and my guest to my immediate right here is Denny Lemons, owner and operator of 5 and Drive Auto Sales as well as the Motorsports team. Denny, welcome to the show, and I'm glad to have you aboard today.
Thank you, Jim. Nice to be with you.
Well, we've taken the grand tour here at the facility, your brand new race shop here. Tell us a little bit about your motorsports.
Well, this is a brand new facility for us that we've just opened as of 2002, January. And we have a 6,000-foot building here, 60 by 100. And we have, as you can very well see around you, we have 6 cars. And we're racing out of Rockford Speedway, which is only a block away from us.
Rockford Speedway just across the field here, a few buildings away. And of course, as I look at your fine facility here, still under construction. I see in the background there a painting booth under construction and a few other things underway here. Your race facility here, who is it that you house? What is the purpose of this whole big complex here with the race team and how it intertwines with one another?
Well, I guess the main thing that we've accomplished with our new building is we've made all the wives happy. We're out of the garages at home, and they've got their garages back.
Absolutely.
And we put everything under one roof, and what we're really trying to create, we've had several cars in the past 10 years or so race for us, but we've never had a complete team concept.
And this concept coming to surface for 2002, it actually got started a couple years ago. Bring us back a couple of years. Your involvement in auto racing here in the Rockford Speedway and the greater Midwest area.
Well, I guess I got back into it. I would think it would probably been about 8 or 9 years ago with one car sponsorship, and it just grew. And last year we had 8 cars, and this year we're down to 6 cars in 5 divisions.
Well, Denny, in my past experience in working with you and seeing your overall operation, not only do you help a lot of drivers out, but you're also fan-oriented. Tell us about your involvement there.
Well, I guess I'm very fortunate in the overall picture to be able to say that I'm able to do all of my advertising with both of our businesses, which is 5 and Drive Auto Sales, located in this local market, as well as our finance company, Money Mart Financial. And the only advertising I do with both businesses is with the race cars. And so we're very fortunate to be able to take my hobby and intertwine it with my business.
Absolutely, and I know that you've catered to the fans in the form of offering your Tower Suite facility available to them. Had guests there as on behalf of 5 and Drive Auto Sales, but you also have given away a lot of t-shirts and hats to the race fans and really made a first-class operation out of your motorsports theme.
Well, that's nice of you to say, and we certainly involve the fans in everything that we do. Yes, we do give shirts and hats and a lot of things that we do.
Behind us we see the a late model which will be driven by Jim Reynolds this year, and of course he came on board halfway through the season last year. Also to my left there's your Grand National Sportsman cars. Maybe perhaps you can explain to us who's on board with you as drivers this year and what your anticipations are.
Well, you're exactly right. Directly behind us is our late model car, and Jim Reynolds is on board. Jim came on board after a very unfortunate mishap last year. We lost Al Papini, and Jim has come on board, and my nickname for Jim is Gentleman Jim, and that's exactly what he is. He's been really an asset to our whole organization. And we have the Bad William boys next to us here. We have Gene and Daryl, and of course Daryl is my lifelong friend, and in the one car that I started with 8 or 9 years ago as far as sponsorship. Mm-hmm. And we have gorgeous George Sparkman and the American Short.
He is gorgeous, I've seen him.
Yes, he is.
Yes, yes.
We have a lot of other names that we call him also, but we'll stick with George. Gorgeous George on.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. And George has been around a long time with me, and he's always puts on a show. You always know George is there. And I try to come with something cute every year for George as far as a name, and we all pick on him. And this year it's just George. So it's just George.
Okay.
And we have also added this year in the Roadrunner division at our home track, Rockford Speedway. And we have a figure eight car that we're putting a truck body on behind us. And we have a husband and wife team there. We have Wanda, who drives 2 nights a week in the Roadrunner division, and her husband, who's going to drive a figure eight vehicle for us this year. So we have a husband and wife team.
Absolutely. You seem like you're catching all extremes of a racing program, per se. Looking back at Jim Reynolds in the late model division here, he raced before, and then he had several years that he was off from the racing season. You extended an invitation to him to come back and race and be a part of your team. Take us back when you extended that invitation. What were your major concerns at that time? Did he have any concerns?
Well, I think we both had a lot. I had put a lot of thought into, after Al Papini's death, as to whether we were going to race that car again. And how was that all going to fit in? I don't know. I had several people come at me wanting to race the car. And I couldn't see myself doing that. And I think it was probably the furthest thing from Jim's mind of getting behind the wheel of a car, because he had made a semi-commitment to his brother to help on his team, who John races at our local track as well. And it took Jim about a week to make up his mind that he wanted to do that. And we're very glad he's with us.
Well, I have to, say that I agree with your selection, Jim Reynolds. Certainly a quality gentleman, a person, and he certainly races real hard. As we look into the year 2002 here at the Rockford Speedway, last year, of course, that unfortunate incident that did occur out at the Speedway. However, no fault to the Speedway or to the car itself. You build quality cars.
No, it was a natural thing. Al had a heart attack, and
well, we don't want to dwell on that at all. But let's take us back now to George Sparkman, another veteran driver for your race team, been around at the Rockford Speedway for a long time. We'll have a chance to talk with him here shortly. Your impressions of George and his performance last year, what are your expectations for this year?
I don't have any expectations. Anyone that would stand in front of a camera and tell you that they had a lot of expectations with racing I don't think would be telling you exactly the way it's going to be. We are going to be competitive in all divisions that we race in this year, and George will be competitive.
Of course, George racing in the American Short Tracker division. Darrell Williams in the Grand National Sportsman division. I recall a couple years ago, he just couldn't put together a good night of racing. I mean, what could happen would happen to him. And last year, however, he came on real strong to finish, I believe, second in seasonal points. Had a real tight battle with the eventual champion Scott Lauber. I look for big things for Darrell this year. What's your feelings on that?
Well, we think we had a big year last year.
Well, you certainly did. Well, 2 years ago.
But we don't want to take anything away from Scott Lauber. But we had a good year last year.
Certainly did.
We had everything that could happen to us happened to us. And I've always said, you're going to have luck, whether it's good or bad. We just had a lot of bad luck. And still finished, Darrell finished 23 points behind Scott Lauber, who had all the good luck, and we had, I think, 4 DNFs last year.
Well, your preparation of your race team is very, very important. And of course, a race team that can get off to an excellent start the first couple of weeks of the new season seems to set the tempo for the entire season for you. At least we like to think that way. You certainly are preparing your cars well in advance. Hopefully that'll give you some time for some research and development out onto the track, make any necessary improvements that may be needed.
Well, I would agree with you, except for the point I don't think that it's made in the first couple of weeks. I think the preparation is right now.
That's absolutely right.
If you're not ready and you don't work at it in the winter, it isn't going to work in the summer once you get on the track.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
we feel like by having opened the new facility and everything else that we're going to be race ready. And it'll all work for us.
Not only do you cater to the local drivers here at the Rockford Speedway, but I also understand that you are involved in a couple different youth organizations too, go-kart racing. Maybe elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, we have a couple young drivers coming up. And I
Is
have
this your farm club then, would you
This
say?
is our farm club. That's exactly right. Good call, Jim.
All right.
And we do have a couple of go-karts that we sponsor, and happens to be a business associate of mine. It's his grandson and his nephew. And they've raced for us now 3 years. And it's certainly not the money issue as far as sponsorship with the grandfather, but it's to teach the young boys what a sponsor is and what he should be to them and what their commitment should be to him as well as. So they're very involved in anything that we do, whether we have a 5 and drive night at our local track every year, and we always make sure that the kids come out and bring their go-karts, and they're part of our complete program.
Certainly well said, Denny. Once again, turning our attention back to the late model behind us. Last year you had the purple and black and the silver and all the other accenting colors. This year you got a totally new paint scheme. Tell us about that, how'd that come about? It's a beautiful looking car too.
Well, in my opinion, a race car is red. And we have red cars with yellow hoods, and I don't think that 10,000 McDonald's could be wrong. And so it is the most recognized 2 colors in the world. I probably say this every year. When I look at the cars and they start to get done, I say it's the prettiest car that we've ever had. But I'll say it again this year. This is the prettiest car we've ever had.
Well, Denny, it certainly is that. And you've done an outstanding job along with your race team members here. You have support staff also. You got some young ladies back there that take care of the promotional things for you as well, handing out flyers. On behalf of the Midwest Motorsports Review, Grand National Sportsman driver of the famed 5 and Drive Motorsports racing team here at the Rockford Speedway. Darrell Williams, of course, better known as the Hillbilly Cop of the Rockford Speedway, a longtime veteran race driver. And Darrell, welcome to the show. Nice to have you aboard.
Thank you, Jim. It's nice to be here.
Certainly, in addition to the 5 and Drive Motorsports race team here at the Rockford Speedway, and of course, you're looking forward to a great new season 2002. Give us a little insight on your racing career here at the Rockford Speedway and some of the things and your accomplishments that you've encountered.
Well, I originally started out with the Police and Businessmen's race back in the late 70s. Hugh Deary, who was the owner of Speedway at the time, we needed a way to make some money for our police association, so he came up with a grudge race between the police and the businessmen. And that's really how I got started. I raced in that several years.
You know something, I've been a long time participant here at the Rockford Speedway, not only as an employee, but also as a spectator. And I recall that very first grudge race between the businessmen and, of course, the police. A longtime veteran, now retired police officer of the Loves Park Police Department. You certainly have made an impact on the racing season here, or over the past years. A very aggressive driver, 2-time Grand National Sportsman champion, and I believe you were telling me earlier you've never finished out of the top 5 in total points over the years.
No, the only thing that's really kept us out of the top is bad luck. We have a lot of bad luck. But yes, we are aggressive, and that's part of our bad luck. But that's just the way we are. That's the way we've always raced, and that's the way we're going to continue to race.
Absolutely, and of course you find your way to the front. You're a multi-time feature winner. And as we look back over your great career, how did you acquire the name Hillbilly Cop?
That came from another policeman. I really don't know, but he found out I was from the South. I'm originally from Arkansas, and so the hillbilly thing came along, and then the next thing it was a hillbilly cop, and that kind of picked up at the Speedway with the announcers, and it just stuck. It was, it's kind of funny because one of the people that work at the Speedway, Stan Burdick, was in Florida, and his motorhome, and he was going to Daytona, and his CB was on, and the guy comes on the CB and goes, "Hey, you and Nick Camper from Rockford," he said, "you know the hillbilly cop?" So I always tease Stan about being nationally known. So it's stuck very well. It's a good nickname, I guess.
Darrell, finishing second overall in seasonal points last season, you know, where you were within arm's reach of the eventual champion, Scott Lauber, and then went down to the last couple Wednesday nights and the Saturday night of racing here at the Speedway. It looked like the championship was in grasp, but then all of a sudden, Lady Luck just wasn't on your side.
No, she sure wasn't. We had some mechanical problems. We actually missed 4 features. We fortunately got to start them, but we got knocked out in the first lap with mechanical problems. And of course, points are the main thing when you go for championship. And we wound up losing by 23. And he was fortunate; he got to run them all. So I mean, we were on the charge, but we just couldn't quite get there.
Consistency, a very important component of being a champion.
Absolutely. I mean, we won more features than anybody. We won Hard Charger for the year, which is a deal that the Speedway has. It's accumulated by the cars you pass in the feature, and we beat him in that by several cars. So count. So well, I mean, we were there, but we were just bad luck got us.
You were knocking on the door, but no one was answering the door.
Absolutely.
Looking at the 5 and Drive Motorsports Racing Complex, how do you feel this team concept with having all the cars under one roof can be an advantage to you and, of course, the other members of the racing team?
Well, we've got a lot of experience here. You know, I've been around it for a long time. My nephew Gino's been with me since we started. Of course, you got Jim, you know, and George. There's a lot of knowledge here, and by everybody being in the same shop, that's shared, and it really helps.
Absolutely, very similar to the well-known Winston Cup teams who take on the same philosophy. Test time, when do you feel that you would be making your first appearance as a testing part of your race team here at the Rockford Speedway?
Well, we've already tested tires. We're in the process of going to a different tire from what we've had, so we were joking about it for today. I mean, here it is January, 27th or whatever it is, and it's 70 degrees almost outside. We'd like to be out there today testing, but we'll be there early before the season starts, and we'll be ready for them. We've got good equipment. We've got the best sponsor in the world. We've got B&B Motors out of Appleton, Wisconsin, with all kinds of horsepower, so it's all going to be on our shoulders whether or not we get to the front.
Tell us a little bit about your Grand National Sportsman.
Well, it's a 95 volts. It's the newest that you're going to run here at Rockford in the Grand National Division. It's, of course, powered by B&B engine. It's just a supercar. My nephew built it. He also drives, and he built that one. We've got good equipment. We've got the best. So, you know, it all depends on our shoulders now. I mean, it lays on our shoulders whether or not we're going to get there, and we're definitely going to try.
Absolutely. We certainly want to wish you the best of luck. Let's go back a few years ago when a young man by the name of Bobby Miller was racing, and he turned out to be the season champion. And, of course, you were still actively involved in the police department, so you came out and you raced that night, and you had to work night shift. So you hustled home and changed clothes and reported to work. And tell me what happened after that.
Well, the police department thing, when I raced, when I was still working, we used to work 12-hour shifts, so our shifts would go from 6 to 6, 6 at night to 6 in the morning, or 6 in the morning to 6 at night. So I'd come out and race. Unfortunately, the police department allowed me time off to race. So the minute the feature was over with, I had to park the car and leave, of course, to go get ready. So, excuse me, to go to work. So I did that and came back, and of course the tech was all done and everything. And Bobby and his crew, they'd had a few brewskis, so they were going down Forest Hills Road, which is adjacent to the Speedway. And I thought, now this is going to be kind of funny. So the truck and trailer Bobby was driving, and one of his crew members who was following him. So I just kind of pulled around him and turned on the lights and pulled Bobby over. And of course his crew member thought he didn't realize it was me, so he went on down the road. He wouldn't stop. Of course Bobby just about
yeah, I understand. I can read between the lines there. Yeah.
He just about had a heart attack. And he got out of his truck, and I come walking up. And of course, he couldn't see me because I had a spotlight on him until I got right up to him. And I said, "Congratulations." He goes, "You scared the heck out of me."
Certainly a memorable moment for you as well as Bobby Miller, of course. Speaking of memories, longtime driver, longtime racer for many, many years here. What one memorable thing sticks out in your mind? And of course, I realize that there are certainly many.
Well, probably the most memorable thing I ever had probably wasn't a racing incident. Hugh Deary, of course, who was, as I said, was the owner of the Speedway, received a Hugh Deary Award about 5 years ago, which is an award given at the banquet. It's a family-given award by the Deary family, and that's probably the most memorable thing I've ever got.
Certainly, Hugh Deary, innovator of some very exciting programs here for the local race drivers at the Rockford Speedway. Once again, turning our attention back into year 2002, as you look forward to this season, and as I alluded to Denny Lemons earlier in the program, getting off to a good start for the season, in other words, competitively. We know that you've done your homework in the shop. Having good success those first couple nights certainly sets the stage for the entire racing season.
Well, yeah, it does. It makes you feel good when you go out and you're competitive or if you're going to win. But we've always, for some reason, if we won the first part of the season, everything always went bad for us. So if we can finish good in the first part of the season, I think we can come on later and maybe do a little better. Those first 1 or 2 races that we won every season, you know, or when we have won, have never turned out good for us. So we haven't been consistent after that.
Take us how you prepare yourself for a feature event. You're out onto the track, you've pulled your car out onto the track, you're ready to get started with the race. And I know a game plan is a game plan and it can change moment by moment. But in a feature event, let's say you're starting in the back of the pack, you set your goals. How far do you set? I mean, you make that transition lap after lap.
Well, fortunately, our features, as car count's gone up, our features have got longer. When we originally started, we ran like a 20-lap feature. And you had to really go, I mean, we did it by qualifying, so if you were fast, which we normally were, towards the back of the pack, you had to go on the first lap. And anymore, I mean, I guess I've been around so long, I kind of relax myself. I've actually fallen asleep sitting in the pits waiting to go out for the feature. Then I do what is normal for me. I'll light up a cigarette, go out on the track, and get ready to go racing.
Well, certainly, as you approach the feature and get involved, a feature race ends up being a trophy dash.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to go all the way. I mean, every lap is racing. We've got good competitors. You know, we're all fairly close in time, so I mean, you got to be there, and when you can go, you got to go. And we try to do that. We've always had a joke around 5 drive. You know, if we're going to the front, that's okay. If we knock it apart, it's paid for. So we've got the best sponsor in the world. As long as we can do that and put it back together, we're going to the front.
Let's turn our attention to the racing fan. What kind of impact have they had on you as a person and the impact on your racing team?
Well, we have a lot of fans. Unfortunately, I guess my career previous to this created a lot of enemies, I guess. So, but I learned a long time ago, going back to Hugh Deary, he told me one time, he said, it doesn't matter if they're booing or cheering. The people that boo usually are louder than the people that cheer. So he said they make a lot of noise too. So he said if they're booing you, he said they still like you. So you know, the fans come and go. We appreciate the fans. Sometimes they don't like us if we win too much or if we're up front too much. You know, they I guess envious or whatever. And I guess that's natural. But you know, our fans are good, and we treat them good.
Darrell, we have 2 minutes remaining in this section. How do you see year 2002 for Darrell Williams as well as the race team?
Well, I plan on winning the championship. The only thing that's going to hold me back is, you know, some unfortunate incident. We've got the equipment, we've got the knowledge. You know, like I said, we've got a lot of experience here in the shop to get there. And there's nothing to stop us. You know, I mean, we're going to run strong. I know that, and we're planning on going front.
Well, Darrell, certainly with 2 championships tucked away into the trophy case, as well as numerous and many thousands of laps on the famed Rockford Speedway, we certainly want to wish you the best of luck for the upcoming racing season 2002. And on behalf of Midwest Motorsports Review, we certainly wish you the best of luck.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's been nice.
It's been nice, yes. Five and Drive Motorsports race facility with American short tracker driver George Sparkman. George, welcome to the show. Nice to have you aboard here today.
Nice to be here.
Another driver of the Five and Drive Motorsports race team is here with us today to tell us a little bit about his career, not only as a driver, but also a member of the community. And of course, you come from a family of racers for a long time, been associated with the Rockford Speedway and of course Midwest racing facilities.
Yeah,
George?
my father.
Your father participated, he raced in the American short tracker division and
No,
or the late model division.
late model, run USAC, ARCA, dirt tracks.
So as a child, you got exposed to the racing families around the Midwest here and certainly cut your teeth early in your career.
There's not too many racetracks I haven't seen in this Midwest.
I look behind the cameras here and I see your American short tracker race car being put together, about to put on the racing decals and of course the Five and Drive Motorsports logo. Tell us a little bit about your race car this year. What kind of changes have you made? What are you running for a body style, etc.?
It's a Ford Mustang with a Chevy Beretta body on it, and we put a 2001 Monte Carlo front and rear tail section on it. And it's something different.
George, as you approach the 2002 racing season here at the Rockford Speedway, of course, like all the Five and Drive drivers, you certainly are a hard charger. You've made your way up to the top. You're winning numerous feature events last year. This year, as you approach the new season, what is your philosophy on what is going on, how you feel about what is happening to you?
Well, this is the first really year I'm really positive about racing because I'm in the house with Denny. I mean, I don't have to worry about financial situations. And everything's here. I mean, anything you want, you need, you just go get it. And it's really a burden off my mind not to have to worry about finances.
It certainly lets you focus on what needs to be focusing on, and that is the
Winning.
driving and winning. Of course, looking forward to winning that championship as all the drivers here at the Five and Drive Motorsports race team is. Do you look for a top 5 finish, perhaps?
We're going to win it all.
You're going to win it all. Of course,
We'll win
that's
it all.
our ultimate goal. But I'm kind of looking at, setting
Realistic, a top 3.
a top 3, and that certainly is very realistic for the George Sparkman Five and Drive Motorsports race team. George, some incidents that occurred to you last year, you had some good things going. We found you up sideways on the wall a couple times and spun out by other drivers. Sometimes lady luck with you, and then again, not so.
My luck is notorious. I mean, if it couldn't go wrong, it will on me.
Being a hard charger as you are, you find yourself into the trophy dash on numerous nights of racing here at the Rockford Speedway. How important it is to make that fast qualifying top 6?
Well, making a top 6 is a bonus at Rockford because that psychs everybody else out. When you're fast at Rockford, you're fast everywhere. So like when you go somewhere else to race, they know who you are.
Absolutely, and as you compete in the trophy dash and you work your way through your qualifying heats now, how do you take on the heat races versus a feature? Do you use the heat race as a format in which to set up your car for that feature event?
Yeah, I mean, you use the heat race as a 10-lap practice
Shakedown,
session.
if you will.
Yeah, because then you can size up who's got what and what they're doing. Versus if you're just between the dash and the heat, if you just went out there cold for the feature, then you're hit and miss.
George, as we look into the 2002 racing season here, what one individual has really impacted your racing career over the many, many years, and how will that apply to this racing season? I know this question may catch you off guard here, but certainly many people that you can credit for being successful.
Well, as growing up around the Midwest back in the 70s and late 60s, I got to watch some of the best. I mean, there was Trickle, there was Joe, there was Refner, and the biggest thing I learned is you have to let the race come to you. Watching them race, I probably learned about trying to be smooth. It's probably the biggest part.
Consistency, we've already had mentioned, a major opponent and successful at a racetrack. However, sometimes you just want to really charge to the front and take control. I'm sure that's happened to you.
It has, and it's gotten me in trouble before.
Ideally, where would you like to start a feature event? In the middle of the pack, the back of the pack? Of course, we know that everybody says, well, if I can get up front, you know, and be in the first 2 or 3 rows, that kind of leads the way. You know, you can outrun your competition, but where would you like to sit?
I used to like, a few years back before this class got so tough, I'd start dead last and just take my, go right through the pack. But now I like to start in the first 4 or 5 rows.
Rockford Speedway, of course, known for its high bank, quarter-mile track. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about racing at Rockford Speedway and what the track has done.
Well, anybody knows Rockford Speedway knows that this is not a forgiving track.
No, it's not. Those walls are pretty hard.
So if you can get the chassis right and get your act together, this is a great place to race. I mean, it's tough. Like I go anyplace else, and I'm usually right there, with anybody from any place else. I want to go there once or twice a year and race these guys, and they know I came from Rockford, so that tells them that, okay, he's competitive.
George, why race in the American Short Tracker Division? What's so attractive about the American Short Tracker Division versus the Late Model Division or even the Grand National Sportsman Division?
Because in the Short Tracker Division, there's 28 cars. On any given night, top 12 cars can win. It's tough competitiveness. I mean, you really got to race this class.
How similar is the American Short Tracker to a late model or to a Grand National Sportsman?
It's close to a sportsman. A short tracker is a complex little car. I mean, you got to have all the right components, chassis. You don't have a lot of motor, so they're non-forgiving. If you screw up, it's going to cost you 2 laps. So it's, I don't know how to explain this.
So you want to set your car up to not only go fast on the low groove, but also be able to go to the higher groove to pass on the outside.
Yeah.
As they say, on the inside, you can handle
Shortest way
that
around,
load.
right.
Yep, that's absolutely.
But the hard thing is, like I said, you have to attack the corner on one of these cars like there's no tomorrow, because there is none.
Well, well, we know that, but George, I've watched you over many, many years racing here at the Rockford Speedway. You certainly have made a strong impact amongst your fellow competitors, the race fans, and of course, even the late model drivers. If there's one driver that really stands out in your mind, who would that be? I know there's many of them. Of course, we had said that many of the greats have raced at the Rockford Speedway, so understandable if you have to take a moment and think about that. And if you want to change your mind halfway through, that's okay too.
Well, I've raced against a lot of guys in my lifetime. One person I'm glad to see has made it, that came out of this class, is Travis Quapple.
Absolutely. Travis Quapple in the Craftsman Truck Series finished in the top 5, I believe, for 2001. Certainly has made a big, big impact on his career as well as the Craftsman Truck Series.
But the person I most like to race with is Tim Melvin.
Tim Melvin. Tell us a little bit about Tim.
Tim and I can race 50 laps side by side and never touch each other. I mean, I have great respect for the man. And he's never done me wrong. And like I said, I can race 50 laps side by side with him and never even look to see where he's at. And that means a lot.
And that brings to mind driver trust. And of course, a lot of young drivers competing in the American Short Tracker Division, you may or may not know of their past history. How do you approach a driver? Let's say you're behind them, you're coming up a young driver, you're going hard into the turn. Do you just hang on and hope for the best, or you try to size up his consistency prior to getting to that point?
Usually I try to see where they're at before I get there. I try to watch them a couple laps before I come up on them to make sure they're got a rhythm. And if they don't have a rhythm, try to figure out what they're going to do.
And let's say they do mess up a little bit. I know that may fire a little angerness in you, but do you go back and try to be a teacher to them, being a veteran driver as you are?
I try to explain to them what they've done wrong, because I started out. I was wild when I started. So I know what that's like. And if you can help them out, it helps the whole division out.
Absolutely. And before we cut off here, George, as we look towards, once again, the 2002 racing season, this is what, how many years you've been involved here? I don't mind put a label on it, but how many years have you been racing?
Be 46 in March, 45. I've been around it.
Certainly an incredible career for you, a longtime competitor, not only here at the Rockford Speedway, but also elsewhere. Give us a little experience away from Rockford Speedway.
Well, yeah. Like I said, my father raced all over the Midwest. I've helped different drivers over the years before I started becoming a driver. I've raced Jefferson, Lake Geneva, La Crosse. I've been to Salem, Indiana. You know, I've had a few different rides and things.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, you had an unfortunate incident up in the Wisconsin track, Madison. And you injured your hand. Is that affecting your driving abilities, say, today?
It makes you think about where you're putting the car.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad that you recovered from those injuries, and certainly hope that they don't impede your racing ability. So, George, we're going to bring this edition to a close here. We certainly want to thank you for being a part of our show this afternoon. We want to wish you, as well as all the drivers in the 5 and Drive Motorsports race team, the best of luck. Any closing comments for your competitors?
My competitors, buckle them seatbelts up, boys, 'cause I'm coming after you.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Sparkman of the Rockford Speedway, the 5 and Drive Motorsports race team. Hello, race fans. Welcome once again back to the show. Hey, Jim Reynolds from the 5 and Drive Motorsports race team here with us at the present time. Of course, racing the late model. Jim Reynolds, welcome to the show. Nice to have you aboard.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Jim, once again, a veteran driver in the late model division as well as in the other divisions at the Speedway. Back once again for season 1.5 for you, a renewed season. Let's take us back maybe about 10 years ago. You pulled away from the racing scene for a while, however actively involved because your brother was involved in racing at that time. But Jim Reynolds, a school teacher, teaches automotive. And Jim, as I recall, in those years back, your pit crew was made up of your students.
Yeah, that's true. It was kind of a built-in prop, you could say. Got the kids involved with the racing and got some of the kids to come down and work in the pits with me and put the car together in the school shop, and it was always an adventure to get those kids involved with it. And NASCAR did a little piece with us and featured us in their newspaper, and it was just nice to have those kids involved at that time.
And certainly, as the major word today of technology, a lot of technology built into the race cars, and back then it certainly served as a forum in which students to learn a higher technology because it was part of the racing.
That's true, and it's just something to grab them and get them involved in the automotive trade, and it really worked out well.
Certainly now, the way Winston Cup is and all that sort of thing, certainly major careers can be developed from having a good understanding of the technology behind a race car. You came on board with the 5 and Drive Motorsports race team last year, about halfway through the season. Denny Lemons, proprietor of 5 and Drive Auto Sales, came to you and asked you if you'd like to finish out the season behind the wheel of one of his late models. Of course, we all know of an unfortunate incident. We don't want to go into that, but your feelings at that time, you were out of racing for a while.
I was out of racing. I was still involved in racing. I crew chiefed for a few guys. I had made a commitment to my brother to help him because he runs in the late model division also. I had worked with some other drivers, and I was still around the track, so it was...
So you were connected, but disconnected in some respects.
Connected and disconnected, not in the seat, but still involved. So it was an opportunity that presented itself, and we discussed it at great length and decided to give it a shot.
How difficult was it to get behind the wheel?
It wasn't. It wasn't hard to get back behind the wheel. It's just the thought of getting involved in it again and making that commitment to the time. But getting back behind the wheel, it wasn't that traumatic.
It's kind of like riding a bicycle. You kind of never lose the touch or the skill. You may lose the touch, but the skills are there.
Yeah, you hope that it still feels good when you get back behind the wheel, and is another learning curve again.
I did notice in watching your return to the Rockford Speedway in the late model division, you were kind of passive, if you will. You kind of laid back, and here again, it was a learning curve, getting back to know the drivers that you were going to compete with and seeing what their tendencies were.
And that's a big part of it. You got to learn the people that you're racing with and who you can trust and who you have to kind of be careful around. And there's some of the drivers that I'd run against before, and that wasn't a big deal. And then learning some of the new drivers. So
A lot of rookies came on board in the last couple of years.
definitely. So you know, a lot of people hadn't raced with me, so they might have considered me a rookie too.
But as we neared the end of the season, you were coming on very strong, running some consistent features.
Definitely. We made some trophy dashes, and the features were more consistent, and it was learning the car and the engines and the chassis and everything that was upgraded, and it's just a new ball game.
I've asked this question of the other drivers, is what one driver has kind of put a major impact on your life? In the racing scene, that is.
In the racing scene, stock car racing, I couldn't really name one way or another, but my mom and dad both drag raced, and I kind of grew up and learned the competition aspect from them. And I think those were probably the people that I admired the most in the racing scene.
Of course, your brother, a very accomplished late model driver here at the Rockford Speedway as well. Do you have some family conversations, say, away from the race shop about what's happening? Out on the track, that is.
Not really anything out on the track. We look at each other, I think, just as another car when we're racing, and we're very competitive with each other. We do compare notes as far as chassis and setups and jetting and things like that, but when we're on the track, we're just another competitor.
That's one thing that is a positive note about the racing family. A lot of information is shared, but then again, there is some information that is top secret and is not divulged. Of course, we all realize, especially when chassis setup is concerned, but you're always willing to give a helping hand to the young late model driver, or even that American short tracker, anywhere that you can lend a helping hand. They call you Gentleman Jim.
Well, Mr. Lemons gave me that name.
That's okay.
And, yeah, I've always been around to give somebody a hand and try to be honest with them and help them as much as I could, as much as they were willing to be helped. And I guess that's where that comes from, just willing to jump in and give somebody a hand, even if it's a competitor,
Absolutely. Behind us is your 5-and-drive late model. Take us from front to rear.
It's a beautiful car. It's a 2002 Grand Prix with a Pathfinder chassis. It's exclusively powered by B&B racing engines, and it's probably one of the nicest cars I've ever been involved with, and it's going to be a head turner this year.
We certainly are not going to miss you. We can pick you up anywhere out onto the track with the bright yellow hood line and of course the red body, and of course a car that is red seems to be going faster than sometimes what it really is, right?
Well, this one's going to be fast.
At least that's what the police say.
There's no doubt about it. They call it resale red, but it's an eye grabber, and this baby's going to run. I mean, we made a lot of progress at the end of last year, and we're really looking forward to this year.
You certainly did. An upcoming driver, and not only a veteran driver, but a rookie driver returning to be a veteran driver, and you certainly are that by all means. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to give a big pat on the back to Jim Reynolds, the late model 5-and-drive motorsports driver, and we wish you the best of luck throughout the upcoming 2002 racing season. Jim Reynolds, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Will be a busy one for the Renegade Dirt Car Racing Series, with 32 events scheduled at 18 different tracks in 10 different states, with a total available purse money of over $1,300,000, including over $300,000 in winners' purses alone. With races scheduled from Florida to Wisconsin, 5 new venues dot this year's schedule. Hosting the Renegade Dirt Car Series for the first time will be Virginia Motor Speedway in Saldo, Virginia, McKean County Raceway in Eastport, Pennsylvania, Mountain Motor Speedway in Iceland, Kentucky, LaSalle Speedway in LaSalle, Illinois, and Farley Speedway in Farley, Iowa. June 19th marks the series debut at the LaSalle Speedway in LaSalle, Illinois, with a 50-lap main event paying over $10,000 to win. Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin welcomes back the Renegade Dirt Kart Series on June 21st for a $15,000 to win Masters 75. Boasting a total of 7 events for the 2002 racing season, the Super Late Model-based Wisconsin Challenge Series will visit 3 new venues during the upcoming season. Columbus 151 Speedway, Marshfield Super Speedway, and State Park Speedway located in Wausau, Wisconsin will each hold a single Wisconsin Challenge Series event. In each case, it will make the first appearance of the series at respective late model tracks. Golden Sands Speedway and the Dells Motor Speedway, who hosted the events last year, will host 2 events each in 2002. The season will open at Golden Sands and conclude at the Dells Motor Speedway. The year will begin on Sunday afternoon, April 21st at the Golden Sands Speedway, the high bank 3rd mile paved oval hosted by a very first Wisconsin Challenge Series contest last year in July, with Kirby Kurth becoming the first victor in the series. The season's opening new shows at the Golden Sands will be highlighted by a 70-lap main event known as the Icebreaker 75. The show will not only open the Wisconsin Challenge Series season, but will mark the start of the race season at Golden Sands Speedway as well. Also included on the program will be the Superstock Invitational Race and the first event in the Wisconsin State Two-Man Cruiser Championship. A rain date has been set for the following week on April 28th. The second stop on the 2002 racing schedule will be the first appearance of the series at the Columbus 151 Speedway on Sunday afternoon, May 5th, for the Spring Fling 75. The slightly banked quarter-mile paved oval located in south-central Wisconsin is the smallest track on the schedule, which is sure to entertain the fans with close-quarters racing action. The Wisconsin Challenge Series event will mark the first time in several seasons since super late models have appeared at the track. The Raceway's own late model division cars will be allowed to compete in the Wisconsin Challenge Series Super Lates. The highlight of the program will be a 75-lap feature contest. The track's own street stock and hobby stock divisions are expected to join the program. Going from the smallest track on the circuit to the largest, Marshfield Super Speedway will see the Wisconsin Challenge Series cars take to the wide and fast half-mile paved oval on Sunday afternoon, May 26th. The event hosted by the day before the Memorial Day will again be a 75-lap contest dubbed the Memorial 75. Memorial Day will be used as a rain date for the show, which will feature the season-long leg of the Wisconsin Two-Man Cruiser Championships and the 2 wide-wheeled Daredevils, as the track's popular motorcycle racers will also take the track for a full show of their own. The next stop on the Wisconsin Challenge Series will be a trip to the noted State Park Speedway in Wausau, Wisconsin for the Larry Deachens Memorial Race. On Thursday evening, July 27th, Deachens lost his life in an accident at another track in 1981, and a memorial has been held ever since at the hometown track of State Park Speedway. 2002 will mark the first time this event will be run as part of the Wisconsin Challenge Series. A near record field of cars is expected for the show to honor Deachens and his legacy. Several of the track's own support classes will be in conjunction with the Super Late models, and a 75-lap feature contest for the Super Lates will highlight the program. Another well-known late model special will join the tour with the running of the North American Cup at the Dells Motor Speedway. The show will run on the traditional July 3rd date, which is Wednesday this year. The evening show has been a large number of short track standouts appear over the years. Last year, Dells Motor Speedway hosted the Wisconsin Challenge Series for the first time on Labor Day and achieved a season-high 44 late models competing in the program. An equally abundant field of cars is expected this year's North American Cup. After 5 different tracks, the series finally makes a repeat appearance Sunday afternoon, August 11th, with a return to the Golden Sands for the running of the Legends of Yesterday's 75. The 75-lap main event will honor many of the standout short-track drivers of Wisconsin during various ceremonies. The Superstocks will again run in the support of the Wisconsin Challenge Series show as an invitational race. 2-man cruisers will conclude that day. The 2002 Wisconsin Challenge Series will wind up its season with a 100-lap feature contest at the Dells Motor Speedway on Labor Day, which is September 2nd. The event will run for the first time last year, provide extremely successful. At the end of the day, Rocky Breezer captured the contest, winning $3,000 and scoring perhaps the biggest victory of his career. A support division for the show will be announced at a later date. After the event, the 2002 Wisconsin Challenge Series champion will be honored. Additional honors will be awarded at a postseason. Standard Chassis has announced a special award program to be run in conjunction with the 2002 Wisconsin Challenge Series, known as the Left-Hander Leaves the Competition Behind Award. The big winner will earn a free basic left-hander chassis through many of Left-Hander Chassis' authorized dealerships located out of Roscoe, Illinois. Left-Hander has become one of the premier chassis builders of racing in the United States with a proven track record anywhere left-hander chassis has been found on the track. The chassis will be awarded to a driver who improves the most positions during the 2002 season in the featured contest. Points will be awarded and a running teller will be posted to keep fans and drivers aware of who is challenging in the series points. Last season, Alan Check of Shawneetown advanced 32 positions during the three contests to take the top spot in the hard charger standings. While last season's standing resulted in bragging rights, this year's version will earn the left-hander chassis.
Coming out of turn 4, looking for it. Marcy Cook says green flag, and we're racing. We're underway here tonight at Speedway Autoball Legend Cars, presenting the Rockford Chamber of Commerce After Hours. And it'll be the one car of Josh Thiering taking the point, tucking up the second, the 78 of Matt Lundberg. Working down on the inside, Gene Williams. To his outside would be Uncle D-Dub. Darrell Williams up to that third spot, bringing the 12 of Scott Lauber with him. That 19 car at the end of the field, Bob Hansberry. Darrell Williams, the 5 car, looking down to the inside. Williams inside the 78 of Lundberg. Battle for second, coming out of turn 2. Williams will stick down there on the bottom. Williams noses that 5 and Drive Auto Sales 5 car up to that third spot. Oh, a little tap there. And here comes Lauber to the outside. Lauber going to take over that third spot as he works to the outside of Williams. Williams right back on the inside. 4 laps in, 2 laps to go. Darrell Williams tucks it back behind the 12 of Lauber. Your leader, the 1 of Josh Thiering. Holding on a second, Matt Lundberg. Here comes the field. White flag out. 1 lap to go. 1 lap to go. As the white is showing by starter Dave Sankey. Little bobble in the corner by Gene Williams in the 500 car. Here comes Thiering. Out at turn 4 to the checkered flag. Josh Thiering second. Matt Lundberg in the 78. Third, the 12 of Scott Lauber. Fourth, the 5.
Side, bumper to bumper, here they come on a turn number 4. Great flag up, now we're racing. Gilly gonna try to take an early lead. Wagner coming up on the outside. Wagner takes the lead. Out of turn 4, Wagner, Gilly, Sparkman, and McCoy. McCoy, the checkered flag is going to go to 55 and Dave Wagner, followed by the 11. Sanders got the lead down the backstretch. Seven laps to go. Sander and Dobbs still battling for the lead. Dobbs takes the lead coming out of turn 2, but Sander takes it back. White flag.